Super Bowl 53 won't go down in the history books as being the most eventful or entertaining game. But the halftime show, debatably, is getting more attention than the entire game itself did after a performance that had a lot of people scratching their heads and maybe in a bit of confusion. Let's talk a little bit about the other big attraction on Super Sunday, the commercials. We want to take a closer look at those things that are sometimes the best thing on TV. And joining us this afternoon is Dr. Marlene Towns. She's a professor at the Georgetown University McDonough School of Business, and it's great to have you with us, Doctor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Commercials in the Super Bowl, it seems to me, and I wanted to see what you think about this,
Sure.
Are very often a good barometer of how things are going in this country. In serious times, you see a lot of funny commercials. When things are going okay, we can begin to deal with some big themes. A lot of people think that maybe the best commercial yesterday was the one from Microsoft with the kids of differing abilities and having the wonderful little controller for their games. And if you're a parent, my gosh, it's pretty hard to not shed a tear on something like that.
Yes,
Am
absolutely.
I off base on this, or do you think that there's something to be said for that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's definitely, the commercials that we see are definitely a barometer, like you said, of what's going on in the country and somewhat representative of how people are feeling. Sometimes they're responding to what the current situation is, and sometimes they have a broader goal of kind of trying to bring people together and overcome a particular hardship or bring people in line.
So big picture yesterday, how successful were they? Were there some that hit and others that just missed completely?
I think so. I think overall they were a pretty underwhelming set of commercials. I didn't see many that were terribly exciting or had people, you know, talking the next day at the water cooler, so to speak. But I think that they were, like you said, indicative of the times. They were safe. They were very safe. They tried to stay away from anything vaguely political or divisive. And so I think that we missed out on some of the comedy or maybe some of the risque approaches that we see.
If you're spending $6 million for a 30-second commercial, maybe playing it safe is a good way to go. One that really got to me came in the 2-minute warning before the end of the game itself. The Washington Post did something it had never done before. It aired a 60-second commercial sort of defending where it was. It resonated with me. I'm wondering if it did with other people out there who are the viewers.
Yes, and that was actually one of my favorites. That was one that definitely made you stop and pay attention. I thought that it was very moving, and it was really, I think, one that does attempt to bring folks together on something that, you know, we all can agree on, which is that, you know, being informed is a good thing. And really acknowledging what the media, what the news and the news people, and that there are people behind it, actually do to get us the news.
Did you have a favorite?
I did. I had a few. It was
Okay.
kind of a three-way tie. The Washington Post was one. Mm-hmm. The NFL 100 was another. I thought that was one that has been a pretty resounding positive. And it had comedy and it had a lot of football legends and everything. And also the Hyundai commercial. So I thought that
In
was...
the elevator?
In the elevator.
Yeah.
So I thought that had the 3 C's. It was clever, it was comedic, and it had celebrity. So, and, you know, Justin Bateman, he's great.
So, what about at the other end of the scale then? What was a big miss?
There were a few that didn't quite resonate or didn't quite move me. One was the chunky milk one.
And we can't even remember who spent all that money on to first of all get it on the air, but then to get it produced and that sort of thing, which maybe is an indication.
Yeah, that's an indication it wasn't a great ad. So it grossed me out, and I can't even remember who the advertiser was. So that one I thought was not such a big success.
At least though that was a big swing. It was ultimately a miss.
Yes.
Sometimes, and you talked about playing it safe, they knew that they ran that risk, it seems to me.
Yeah, and with the Super Bowl advertising, it is such a big spend. It's, you know, you gotta risk big to win big, and sometimes you miss.
53 Super Bowls now, and somebody pointed out this yesterday, and I want to get your feeling on this. We almost don't care now about the game. It's just kind of another big game, but it's always a whole crop of new commercials. is this where we're, if we're not headed, we may already be there. This is opening day for the commercial wars.
I think so. I think since Apple 1984, that kind
Ridley
of set the
Scott.
stage for
Who had a
for-
horrible commercial yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled about that one. But I think that more and more the ads are really taking center stage, so to speak, and especially this year. This year was really, it ended up being, and who knew that it would, it ended up being a great opportunity for advertisers because the game was so lackluster. So people were, kind of looking forward more and more to the commercial break so that there was something entertaining. So I think it was an opportunity to grab the spotlight as an advertiser.
This is exactly why we wanted to have the doctor join us to talk about not what happened on the field, because that's been already overanalyzed. It's what happened in between the play on the field. Thank you so much. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Be right back.